Welcome to the Non-Congregate Summer Meals in Rural Areas presentation. This presentation is intended for both Summer Food Service Program, SFSP, and Seamless Summer Options, SSO sponsors of sites located in rural areas that are interested in serving non-congregate meals, as allowed by the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2023. This presentation is hosted by the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs, also referred to as ODE-CNP. In this presentation, we will cover background on new allowances under the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2023 and sponsor criteria for utilizing the ability to offer non-congregate meals, guidance on how to determine rural areas and site and participant eligibility, action steps for approval to serve non-congregate meals, meal service models, meal service requirements, and the best practices for implementation. First, we will review background on the Act as it applies to child nutrition programs and sponsor criteria for utilizing non-congregate meals as prescribed by this Act. In December of 2022, Congress passed the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023. This Act funds certain programs in the federal government through 2023. Included in this Act were provisions related to the child nutrition. These include the establishment of a permanent summer EBT beginning in the summer of 2024. It also established the ability for sponsors to offer non-congregate meals to eligible participants in qualifying rural areas to begin no later than summer 2023. The eligibility for sponsors of sites in rural areas to operate non-congregate meal service is not intended to replace congregate meal service already occurring in these areas. The USDA has stated the interim final regulations will be issued by 12/29/2023. In the interim, the USDA issued SFSP 01/2023, SP 05/2023 on February 28, 2023, which provides guidance on the administration and operation of non-congregate meal service in rural areas during SFSP and SSO operations in summer 2023. This presentation will only address the implementation of non-congregate meals in rural areas for summer of 2023. The guidance in this presentation is specific to Oregon and may be different than the final regulations to be issued in December of 2023. As stated in the previous slide, non-congregate meals is limited to being served in rural areas. But what is a rural area? The definition of a rural area is not new to the Summer Food Service Program, as the determination of a rural area has been used in determining reimbursement rates for sponsors that utilize vended meals. Per 7 CFR 225.2, a rural area is defined as any area in a county which is not part of a metropolitan statistical area or any pocket within a metropolitan statistical area that is geographically isolated from urban areas. Metropolitan Statistical Area, or MSA, consists of one or more counties that contain a city of 50,000 or more inhabitants as defined by the U.S. Census. In order for a sponsor to be eligible to operate non-congregate meals in rural areas, there is specific criteria that must be met. Sponsors must be able to meet all criteria listed here to be eligible to operate non-congregate SFSP or SSO meals in rural areas. First, the sponsor must have sites or serve participants that are located in rural areas where congregate meal service is not available. Second, the sponsor must be in good standing with the Summer Food Service Program, SFSP, Seamless Summer Option, SSO, National School Lunch Program, NSLP, or the Child and Adult Care Food Program, CACFP. To be in good standing, the sponsor must not have complaints pending against their sponsorship and cannot be determined to be seriously deficient in the CACFP or have serious findings in the NSLP. Third, sponsors and their staff must be able to demonstrate they can ensure program integrity while utilizing the non-congregate service method. More information on this will be presented later. Finally, the sponsor must meet all program requirements in Regulations 7 CFR 225, 7 CFR 210, and 7 CFR 220, as well as other regulations and instructions. The non-congregate option is not intended to replace congregate meal service. There may be instances where it may be possible for a site to serve congregate meals, but other factors may make it more suitable for non-congregate meal service. When determining if a site is eligible, ODE-CMP must be able to verify that the area the site is proposed to be serving is not or will not be served by a congregate meal service site for the same planned meal service. Now, if sponsors know best the community and participants they serve, sponsors with congregate and non-congregate sites serving within 1 mile of each other will need to provide justification to their assigned specialist. Justification includes, but is not limited to, participant safety due to busy roads or community concerns and physical barriers such as enclosed areas. Additionally, safeguards must be in place to prevent overlap between meal services. Therefore, all sponsors serving non-congregate meals are required to submit a meal distribution plan as described in the fiscal year 2023 SFSP renewal memo and the April 2023 newsletter for SSO. CMP will utilize or consider the following when determining whether a non-congregate site may be approved. The FNS Capacity Builder will be consulted to ensure that previously approved sites are not located within 1 mile of the proposed site. For sites within that radius, additional information may be required to demonstrate the need for an additional meal site. This applies to sites operated by the same sponsors and sites operated by different sponsors. If there is limited capacity, if the site would be approved for non-congregate meals. If the proposed sites will be serving the same children on different days, weeks, or different meals on the same day when compared to the approved site. If the proposed site appeals to a specific age group or to children with unique dietary requirements that an already approved site nearby cannot provide meals to. And finally, if a meal site does not have the staff to continually offer congregate service, a site may be approved to operate both congregate and non-congregate meal services. For example, serving lunch in a congregate setting, then allowing participants to take a snack home. Now we will review the guidance on determining rural areas and eligibility of sites and participants. As stated earlier, this guidance was developed by ODE-CMP and is specific to Oregon only for the summer of 2023. Starting with how to determine rural locations, there are 2 different tools that may be used, and this guidance includes the best practice for using them, as it is best to use one tool prior to the other for ease of use. The first tool is the SFSP Rural Designation tool, which can be used to check the site or participant's address. This is a map that is similar to the FNS Area Eligibility Mapper. This tool is easiest to use for counties that do not contain a metropolitan area, as the information it displays is county-level data. That said, this map is also more restrictive, as a county with a metropolitan area and it will display rural areas within the same county as being non-rural. In these instances, it is best to move on to step 2 and use the USDA Rural Development Eligibility tool. This tool was created by USDA Rural Development to determine areas eligible for rural development grants. This tool gives better information for rural areas located outside of metropolitan areas, no matter which county these areas are located in. Here is an image of the SFSP Rural Designation Tool website. The website address is located in the video description below. Within the map, there is a search box. Enter the address you want to determine here. Be sure to select the correct address, as options will auto-populate from locations around the United States with similar names. If the address is in a rural area as defined by this map, the area will be unshaded. Sponsors will need to take a screenshot or print a PDF of the map and save it as documentation that the site or participant is located in a rural area. Sponsors are required to maintain this documentation, and if meals are being given to participants directly at a public site, must also be submitted to ODE CMP prior to approval of non-congregate meal sites. If the address is in a shaded area, that means the SFSP designation tool considers it to be part of a metropolitan area. Keep in mind that the SFSP designation tool considers an entire county to be metropolitan if there is a metro area within its borders, or this can also apply to counties next to metropolitan areas as well. Given the size of many counties in Oregon, there's a good chance that there may be rural areas included in counties with metropolitan areas. As a sponsor, if you believe the address should be rural, proceed to step 2 using the USDA Rural Development Tool. Here is an image of the USDA Rural Development Eligibility Tool. The website address is located in the video description. There are a number of different types of programs that can be used to determine rural development eligibility. We are going to use Community Facilities Guaranteed, as summer meal sites are typically open to the community. Other options on this tool require you to complete information not related to determining the location's eligibility. If you find yourself going down a rabbit hole of questions, please select Community Facilities Guaranteed and continue. After you have selected this, a map will load and you may enter the address. The address search box is located at the top of the map. Enter the address you want to determine here. For this example, we are using the same address we used in the FNS Rural Determination Mapper that was identified as being non-rural. With the USDA Rural Determination Tool, if the address is in a rural area, the text in the PIN's info box will state that this address is located in an eligible area. Again, sponsors will need to take a screenshot or print a PDF of the map and save as documentation that the site or participant is located in a rural area. Sponsors are required to maintain this documentation, and if meals are being given to participants directly at a public site, it must also be submitted to ODE CMP prior to approval of non-congregate meal sites. If the address is entered and the PIN appears in a shaded area, that means that the USDA Rural Development Tool considers it to be part of a metropolitan area. Sites and participants within metropolitan areas are not eligible for non-congregate meals in the SFSP. As a quick review, there are 2 ways to determine if a location is considered to be rural. First is by using the SFSP Rural Designation Tool. If the location is not considered to be rural using that tool, proceed to using the USDA Rural Development Eligibility Tool. If in either case the location is determined to be eligible, save documentation to support the determination. ODE CMP will require submission of this for sites where meals are being served from prior to approving a site to participate in non-congregate rural meals. If the location is not indicated as being rural, using the USDA Rural Development Tool, the location is not eligible to participate in non-congregate SFSP meals. Once the sponsor has determined that potential sites meet the rural requirement, it must determine how the site will qualify to serve these meals. This can be based off of either using the site being area eligible or based off of participant eligibility. If your organization plans to serve meals to any participant without collecting meal applications or using school lists of eligible participants to determine who is eligible, the site must be area eligible to be able to claim meals for all participants. This means at least 50% of participants that are in the area are eligible for free or reduced price meals. This is the same eligibility documentation used when qualifying open, restricted open, and some closed enrolled sites in SFSP or SSO, and the same site type you would select when completing CMP Web. Sites can use either current school or census data. For more information on determining area eligibility, please see the SFSP Basics Site Eligibility Documentation Training on the SFSP Training page. Documentation supporting area eligibility must be submitted to ODE-CNP. Alternatively, if the site or participants are not located in an eligible area, sponsors may determine participant eligibility on a case-by-case basis. This may be determined by the submission of a complete confidential income statement or household application, or by the participant being listed on a school list of eligible participants. If the family completes a meal application, all children listed on the form may be eligible for summer meals if they're between the ages of 1 and 18. Please see the SFSP Basics Enrolled Sites Participant Eligibility and Documentation Training on how to determine participant eligibility. Note that these sites in CNP Web would be considered closed enrolled. It is important to note that while meals may only be claimed for participants who qualify for free or reduced price meals, sponsors may choose to serve additional participants. Meals served to ineligible participants may not be claimed for reimbursement. Once it has been determined a site is eligible to operate non-congregate meals in rural areas, the next step is getting them approved. Once a site or participant eligibility has been determined and it is verified that the potential meal site is in a rural area, sponsors may move forward with applying to offer non-congregate meals there. There are a few items needed to apply to offer non-congregate meals in rural areas. These are completing this training. Next, sponsors must submit both site eligibility and rule determination documentation to ODE-CNP. Submitting site eligibility and rule determination documentation to ODE-CNP is required as ODE-CNP needs to verify that the information is accurate prior to approval. If the site itself is not area eligible, but will only be serving participants eligible for free or reduced price meals, please communicate that to your specialist. Sponsors are required to maintain all eligibility documentation, including participant eligibility. Do not submit individual participant eligibility during the application or renewal process. Documentation for individual participants will be reviewed upon request by ODE-CNP. All sponsors operating non-congregate meals must complete and submit a meal distribution plan. The meal distribution plan serves as the sponsor's plan to maintain program integrity. ODE-CNP reviewers will follow this during administrative reviews to ensure sponsor staff is following it to confirm it is adequate to prevent duplicate meals from being claimed and that the program is operating according to regulations. The meal distribution plan will also collect information on how multiple meals will be provided if that is something the sponsor would like to do, and how the sponsor will maintain food safety in non-congregate meal service. For SFSP, this information can be found on the SFSP public website in the Renewal Instructions drop-down. For SSO, please refer to the April 2023 newsletter for those instructions. Finally, CNP Web will need to be updated. If the planned site is not already a site in CNP Web, an Add Modify Site form must be completed and submitted to ODE-CNP. This form can be found in the Packet tab of CNP Web. If meals are being delivered directly to participants, the site would be the place where the meals are originating from. Please note, if a site will be serving congregate meals, it may be approved to serve non-congregate for the same meal service with an approved meal distribution plan. For example, Site A is a congregate meal site Monday and Tuesday, as the site offers art camp to the community children. On Wednesday, that site becomes a non-congregate site where participants pick up meals for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday due to a lack of staffing. While it is encouraged to keep congregate and non-congregate meal sites as two different and distinct locations if serving the same meal type, situations do arise that may justify them serving both. However, sponsors cannot serve the same meal at the same time as both congregate and non-congregate. Congregate meal sites can be approved to include non-congregate meals for a different meal type. For example, breakfast is served congregate and participants receive a lunch to take home. Once the site is available in CNP Web for SFSP, it is time to populate it in CNP Web. There are some key areas for non-congregate meals that must be completed. In line 26, the sponsor will select the site type. The most common types for non-congregate meals are open and closed enrolled. If the site is only serving income-eligible participants through delivery or pickup, and/or is using a roster to ensure only those registered for meal pickup are able to pick up meals, this type of site would be considered closed enrolled. Line 27 is where the sponsor will indicate how the site is eligible. Options that non-congregate meal sites can use include school data, census data, income applications, and school lists. Only one method may be selected. To opt in to operate non-congregate feeding for SFSP, select Yes in line 55. In line 56, select No. Then select Yes in line 57 to participating in the demonstration project for non-congregate feeding. Finally, select the reason for which the site will participate in non-congregate meals. In this case, check the box in line 59, which is Other, and in line 60, enter Rural Area. If the sponsor is serving more than one meal type at the same meal service, the site info sheet must reflect both meals at the same meal service. For example, if breakfast and lunch are being served together from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., the meal times should be as follows. Breakfast would be entered as 11:30 a.m. to 11:59 a.m., and lunch would be entered as 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. Entering times that overlap one another will cause errors in CMP Web. Please do not do this. This covers the specific updates needed to CMP Web for non-congregate meals in the SFSP. If you have any questions, please contact your SFSP Child Nutrition Specialist. For school food authorities, or SFAs, that plan to operate SSO, the following updates must be made in CMP Web for June 2023. Line 120, select how the site is participating. Line 121, months that the SSO meals will be served. Line 122, if the site is classified as non-school 46 or not eligible for seamless summer option, select an eligible site that includes this site's attendance area. Line 123, select the site type. This may be open, restricted open, closed enrolled, or migrant. Lines 124 through 127, enter meal service information including meal type, times, and days it will be served. Line 128, the estimated number of children that will be served. Line 129, locations where meal service will be advertised. And line 130, type of meal service advertisement. Note that ODE CMP recognizes the options in lines 129 and 130 are not all inclusive. Please try to make your best determination. This information was issued in SSO June 2023 memo that was sent out on April 5th, 2023, and was also included in the April 2023 newsletter. If you have questions, please contact your NSLP Child Nutrition Specialist. There are 2 meal service models for non-congregate meals in rural areas available in the summer of 2023. These are home delivery and meal pickup. Sponsors may choose to determine what meal service method is best for them based on the community they are serving. First is home delivery for summer of 2023. Home delivery is when meals are served to children directly to the child's home residence via the mail, hand delivery, or delivery service. To be able to offer home delivery, a sponsor must be a SFA, or if they are not a SFA, they must have a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, with a SFA to share meal benefit eligibility and ensure the SFA is not already serving the child in order to deliver meals to the home. Sponsors must obtain written consent from the eligible child's parent or guardian to have meals delivered to the home. There are many modalities that consent for delivery can be accomplished through. These include completing an online form with a certification statement, submitting an email or handwritten document. Sponsors electing to utilize home delivery must identify and invite eligible households to participate in home delivery. The household contact information, including delivery address and eligible children, must be collected and maintained. It is extremely important that the privacy of participating households is protected. When delivering meals to a home, With written consent, meals may be left for the child if the child is not home. Expenses related to delivery are considered an allowable cost under the SFSP and SSO. For the SFSP, these costs must be included in the sponsor's budget for approval. In summer 2023, bus stops, meaning meals are delivered to a location with the intent of non-congregate meal service, are not an available option for meal delivery. The second option is meal pickup. In this model, these meals may be claimed when picked up by participants in an area-eligible location, or if the site is not area-eligible, meals may be claimed if picked up by participants who are individually eligible. You may be asking yourself, if the site is not area-eligible, am I only allowed to serve individually eligible children? The answer is no. Sponsors can serve non-eligible children, however, those meals cannot be claimed for reimbursement. It is a sponsor decision on if they would like to do this. Provide packaged meals for children to take home later and eat via grab and go, curbside service, or take-home backpacks. Parental notification is required, which can be done through flyers, social media notifications, etc. Parents and/or guardians may pick up meals for children at the sponsor discretion. Sponsors must have a methodology to maintain program accountability and program integrity to ensure that duplicate meals are not being served to the same participant. This methodology is provided in the sponsor-submitted meal distribution plan. Meal service requirements for non-congregate meals have some additional requirements to the typical meal service requirements and are similar to service styles that were piloted the last few years. First, sponsors must follow the meal pattern for the program they operate. SSO sponsors must follow the NSLP meal pattern, while SFSP sponsors will opt in to follow either the SFSP or NSLP meal pattern. Sponsors may serve up to 2 meals or 1 meal and 1 snack. The only meal offering combination that is not allowed to be claimed on the same day is lunch and supper meals. If electing to serve multiple meals, sponsors may serve up to 7 days worth of meals at one time. ODE is not allowing bulk meals in fiscal year 2023. Bulk meals is the service of a product that meets multiple days worth of meals. For example, canned food, gallons of milk, and loaves of bread. Regardless if a sponsor is serving 1 meal at a time or multiple meals, meals and the meal service must meet state and local food safety requirements. If multiple meals are being provided at one time, participants and families must be provided with instructions for at-home storage and preparation, especially if reheating is required. Sponsors are required to meet meal modifications. The meal preference request form for milk is not valid for non-SFA SFSP sponsors. Milk substitute requests for non-SFA SFSP sponsors may only be made via medical statements. Offer versus serve, also known as OVS, is unallowable with non-congregate meal service. The USDA requires all state agencies to track congregate and non-congregate meals claimed and report them monthly. This is important for tracking program impacts. For SFSP sponsors to do this for sites that are serving non-congregate, the site claim in CMP Web will include the section titled Demonstration Project Non-Congregate Feeding Participation Report and Eligible Meals Served Report Non-Congregate Only. Sponsors are required to complete both sections for the site claimed for all sites approved to serve non-congregate meals. SSO claims are not set up in CMP Web to capture both congregate and non-congregate meals. If sites are approved to serve non-congregate meals in eligible rural areas, sponsors will be required to submit additional claim information to ODE CMP for reporting purposes to USDA. More information on how to do so will be provided upon approval. Finally, we will review best practices to assist in implementing non-congregate meals in rural areas. This information comes from best practices observed while nationwide waivers were in place as well as opportunities for partnerships. With changes to how a program is implemented, it can be difficult to ensure the program is serving who it is intended to serve. Occasionally, there may be those in the community that sponsors are trying to serve who may try to skirt the rules, which in turn could have an impact on a sponsor's efforts to operate the program in compliance. ODE CMP is outlining best practices that have been implemented previously to assist sponsors in operating with best faith efforts. Sponsors may require families to enroll in the non-congregate option for area-eligible sites. Not only will this help sponsors plan for how many meals to prepare, but can assist in the creation of an actual meal count form. Note that the option to enroll must be offered to all eligible participants and cannot be limited to a targeted few if more are eligible for this option. Sponsors may offer meal pickup times, a limited number of times per week, or assign participants specific pickup days. Having a roster paired with limited pickup options can decrease the potential for participants to receive unintentional duplicate meals. If operating congregate and non-congregate pickup sites in the same area, offer congregate meal service at the same time as non-congregate meal pickup. Additionally, the pickup site might have a shorter pickup window than the congregate meal site. This reduces opportunity for participants to double dip as it is harder to do both at once. Though sponsors may request to have parent-guardian pickup, sponsors may also choose to require that children receiving meals to be present during pickup. If the sponsor elects into parent or guardian pickup, they may also allow previously identified parents and guardians, as specified by the family, to pick up meals. Have long been a cornerstone to operating and promoting summer meals. With the introduction of non-congregate rural meals, there are more opportunities to strengthen current partnerships and to build new ones. First up are libraries. Many organizations partner with libraries to either host a meal site or to visit meal sites and provide enrichment. Libraries with bookmobiles in rural eligible areas may now be able to help deliver meals to hard-to-reach communities. There's not a more powerful combination to reduce the summer slide in these communities than this partnership. School administrators and teachers may be able to help coordinate volunteers to deliver meals to participants. Additionally, teachers may want to connect with students during the summer to bring a meal and a smile to their face. Public safety officers may be another partnership opportunity. Delivering meals to participants can increase officers' visibility and promote trust in the community. Organizations that are already set up to deliver meals may be another potential partner. This may include Meals on Wheels or other senior meal delivery organizations. If you do work with a partner or volunteers to deliver meals to participants, it is important to remember that meal counts and rosters may not include information that can lead to overt identification. This presentation covered background and sponsor criteria, guidance on how to determine rural areas and site and participant eligibility, action steps for approval, meal service models, meal service requirements, and best practices for implementation. If you have any questions about non-congregate meals in rural areas, please reach out to your assigned child nutrition specialist for NSLP or SFSP. Here's a short message from ODE. ODE supports equity and excellence for every learner and seeks to work with school districts, education service districts, and community partners like you. We believe all children should have access to high-quality, well-rounding learning experiences. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Thank you for attending this presentation. We hope you found it useful.